it's no coincidence that they saw the vaccine is coming and decided to go public right now. Like everyone is at home. All the restaurants are closed. They can't have indoor dining. You guys are at the absolute apex of your place in the marketplace, and you lost $149 million. Doordash went public. The stock price skyrocketed on opening day, ending with giving them a valuation of almost $71 billion, which would make them more valuable than Ford Motor Company, would make them more valuable than Moderna, which just turned out a COVID vaccine in less than 5.5 months. It's insanity. It's
Yeah, they send
I'm baffled
burritos.
by it. Not only do they send burritos, this is the busiest they've ever been during the pandemic, and in the first 3 quarters, they lost $149 million. Do people think when the pandemic ends, they're going to be busier? This is the craziest. This is the craziest. This is WeWork that actually made it to market.
It's a tech bubble. It's the new .com bubble. It's happening again.
This is the absolute. Listen, if the pandemic didn't make me think that everybody is fucking retarded, then this definitely does. You can spew a whole bunch of SEC, financial, Goldman Sachs gobbledygook at me. They don't have a basic understanding of how it works. So once they're on their, let's just play it out. They're on their first earnings call in 3 months or 6 months, whenever it may be. Oh, and by the way, the owners, the founders, own less than 5% of the company now because they diluted their stake down so far from all the rounds that they've taken of funding over the last.
They're almost like employees of the company now.
They're
like
almost employees of the company. Yeah. So
crazy.
I don't think people understand how the model works, though. Like when they're on their first earnings call, Wall Street's going to want to know, okay, so how are we going to monetize here? Well, we're already charging the restaurants, 30% of which are probably going to be bankrupt after the pandemic anyway. We're charging them 30% to do delivery in an industry where the profit margins are razor thin to begin with, and they're not making money. So what are they going to do? Their only option is to up the percentage that they charge to the restaurants and go to 40 or 50%. Most restaurants are not going to do it. They're going to end up dropping it, even though they don't want to. I'll also give you the other side of it. I think they're going to get regulated. So I think cities are going to step in and say, cities, after basically fucking every small restaurant in the ass for the last year, is going to step in and say, you know what? If you want to do business in Seattle, you want to do business in Chicago, you can't charge more than 5 or 10% for these for you. And then their model is, then they're basically out of business. This is the craziest IPO I've ever seen.
And there's so many other services. There's so many. How do you even, how many food delivery companies can the market support at this point that are all going to be around?
None of the models make sense.
No. And I thought they're all just aiming to be acquired. But if they're going public, what are they going to show shareholders? Like you said, when the pandemic lifts.
They were valued at $18 billion in a private market valuation 6 months ago. And they went to the street and they closed on their first day at $71 billion. It's a Ponzi scheme. That's all it is. The original, the initial investors are getting paid and getting out, and everybody else is going to be left holding the largest bag of shit in history. It's absolutely insanity to me. It's absolutely crazy.
That's VC. You make your money in those early rounds. That's it. Once you're late to the party, it's done. Everyone's gone. All the beer's gone. There's a mess.
The beer's
It's
gone.
a government endorsed Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, that's what I feel like we've been saying this bubble thing for so long, and everyone's been saying it. But it just keeps going on and on. Like just when you think it's slowing down, the DJ plays another song and the party's back on. Like maybe I'm the crazy one. I don't get what's happening
I don't
anymore.
think it's a bubble. I don't think it's a bubble. I think it's human nature and a fundamental misunderstanding of how companies make money, and everybody wants a company that they've heard of. The fact that the fact that they're selling this company to institutional investors is absolute is crazy to me. Like, we've talked about it 100 times. We'll probably talk about it 100 more times. The crime is in the underwriting by the banks and then selling it out to the public as this is worth this.
Right.
Like, this is what happened with WeWork until they got caught. The fact that DoorDash made it to market and no one like called them out or is absolutely crazy. It's no coincidence that they saw the vaccine is coming and decided to go public right now. Like everyone is at home. All the restaurants are closed. They can't have indoor dining. You guys are at the absolute apex of your place in the marketplace, and you lost $149 million.
Do you think the founders are just looking to cash out? Like, are they just gonna just get out?
I think the initial investors are like, it's time to get out now. I think Sequoia Capital and them are, hey, we need to get out of this right now. This is where the travesty of these companies comes in. Wall Street signs off on it. Goldman Sachs gets paid $600 million to underwrite the IPO, so they push it to all of their people, and they say, hey, it's good to go. That's why people buy it. It's the same reason people buy Oxy instead of heroin. Because when they're buying heroin, they're buying it from some guy on the corner. But when they get it from their doctor, they pop 3 of them a day because their doctor told them it was great and he went to Harvard. Well, the 20 dudes sitting around the room that were underwriting WeWork, the 30 guys from Wharton in the room apparently didn't realize that the company was a complete bag of shit until it got pointed out to them. And then they were like, oh my God, you know what? Maybe it's not worth $60 billion. Shit, we're going to lose our $300 million in fees. It's a government sponsored Ponzi scheme.
Crazy.
It's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. People continue to buy it.
Interesting to see what happens when the lockdowns end, if they end. Maybe they know something we don't. Maybe lockdowns don't end. That's my prediction. I don't think this shit ever ends. In which case, it might be worth that much.
That's great. Maybe they'll lose another $150 million in the next 3 quarters.
Right. Doesn't get around that issue.
Yeah, like if they had actually made money, if they'd actually turned a profit during the lockdown, it wouldn't be this bad. It would still be bad, but it wouldn't be this bad. But the fact that they lost money during the lockdown is absolute insanity.
The unit economics are all fucked up with delivery. I don't know how you make money on it. Either gouge a restaurant and put the restaurant out of business, or
that's what they're doing.
That's unclear.
What people. So why do the restaurants do it?
They feel like they have no other option.
No one wants to call a place up to order and talk to somebody. Fuck that.
People want to be on their phone. DoorDash has the app to do it. Each individual mom and pop can't do that.
Yeah.
And one thing we've learned is that big companies do a really bad job of getting together with their competition and figuring out a tech answer. If big companies were able to get together and actually sit in a room like drug dealers and realize that we're paying, if all the hotels could get in a room, if Marriott and Hyatt and Starwood and all of these and the 5-6 largest hotel companies could get in a room and say, listen, we're paying Expedia and Booking.com. We're paying these guys ridiculous rates. They're raping us. Why don't we just build our own app? We each throw $20 million in. We build an app. We do the marketing, and we put all of our things on it, and we just charge whatever we charge, and we don't pay the OTAs any percentage.
So you suggest the restaurants do that?
So what would stop? McDonald's is talking about doing their own. What would stop Burger King, Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, Wendy's from getting in a room like the 5 families and saying, we're not paying these idiots 30% anymore for an app. Let's just make our own app. You're talking about companies that have endless capital to build an app. McDonald's apparently is going to do their own anyway. Especially with the laws that have been passing in favor of gig workers. McDonald's is losing staff in the venues. Everything's going to a kiosk. McDonald's is going to do their own delivery service in-house, completely vertically integrated. They're going to hire them as gig workers, so they're not going to have to worry about unions or any of those other issues that would come up with building or creating a workforce. McDonald's is going to end up doing it themselves. It doesn't make them any sense for them to pay the Doordash rate. Apparently, they pay less on Doordash, but it still doesn't make sense for them to do it.
Yeah, there's this. It's because it's kind of like a zero-sum game. Users don't want a million apps to download, so it's
Right.
going to be the
They
same
just want
problem.
one.
Now you have 100 apps. Now they're not going to use any of them because it's just going to be app overload, and then some company's going to come along and consolidate all the apps, and it just feels like it goes in circles. Because if everyone's not on them, then it's not valuable to the whole network.
True. What would stop Amazon from building one?
Nothing. I think anyone can build one. It's just people just kind of know people's brain can only hold Uber Eats, DoorDash, maybe Just
Sure.
Eat, maybe Skip the Dishes. Even that I'm already forgetting exists.
What if Amazon built one and charged the restaurants $100 a month?
Is that less than what they're currently getting charged? Like, would that be a better
They're
deal?
charging 30% of the order on DoorDash.
And they're still not profitable though.
And they're still losing $149 million in the first 3 quarters of the pandemic, when every restaurant is only on takeout.
If you were to take out human behavior out of this, then yeah, it makes more sense for these companies to get together like the families and build their own thing. But they all I don't think they all like each other, or they don't trust each other.
They don't trust each other.
So it's just not going to happen.
But Amazon could do it.
Amazon's going to lose a lot of money. I mean, they lose a lot of money in most of their businesses, but isn't that what DoorDash
I think
are
they'd
doing?
actually make money. All they have to do is build the infrastructure. All they have to do is build the app. They already have everything else.
But isn't it a big expense paying everybody to pick the shit up and take it?
You're
Paying
insuring
people.
all the orders, essentially. You're hiring support. You're supporting every single. It's not about just pumping out an app and proving it for the App Store. You're basically saying we guarantee you get your food, and that's what costs a lot of money. When my delivery guy messes up the order, Uber Eats refunds me 100% of the order, and they eat the cost. That's why they keep losing money. That's why people use them, same way they use Amazon Prime, because they know there's not going to be an issue. When I dialed the Chinese takeout place directly, half the time my shit showed up wrong, and if I called them, they're just like, "Go fuck yourself." So it's the whole people want to feel peace of mind, and companies are willing to lose money to give that to people. They don't really have a plan B. So I don't know if Amazon can just build a thing and put it out and it's a done deal, because then they're in the same problem that Uber and DoorDash have, which is how do you squeeze $3 out of a $6 burrito?
I think that you have to do what Amazon do with everything else and just fund it with other parts of the business just for world domination. And eventually the profitability will become apparent.
AWS has a sore back from carrying literally every other Amazon business. I don't know how much more they can do. They're already going to space. They're fucking going to space. It's weird that we're going to space, but we can't figure out how to profitably deliver a burrito. Like if aliens visited us, they would be so confused by the prioritization of our technology. Like we can refuel a rocket, but if you order food, there's just no way to do it cost efficiently.
It's because nobody wants to serve other people food. That's why no one wants to do it. That's why slavery was so bad. It's because no one wants to do it. That's why Americans tip, because it's, hey, you're going to be my slave for an hour. All right, here's some extra money because we're definitely. Yeah, they just feel bad about it. No one wants to do it. It's crazy. We need robots to do it until that happens. No one wants to serve other people food. No one wants to do it. There's the odd person that likes cooking.
They try those robot delivery things and they just keep getting the shit beaten out of them because people are just scumbags. I don't think we deserve affordable food. I think just that's the verdict. Like, we don't deserve food. Make your own shit. Shut it down. I don't know.
No one wants to make other people food. Yeah, Bernie Sanders can step in. Everyone deserves a droid delivering food. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty good. I got a little Scottish towards the end there.
Maybe he is Scottish.
You should be honored.
You should be honored. Is DoorDash, are they part of a bigger company? Are they doing a similar thing to Amazon where they're like, okay, we'll funnel money from this? No? So that's it. Okay.
That's it. That's all they are. Yeah.
Once those funds run out.
So where are they going to make money eventually? Is it just a cash grab?
I think this is indicative of when you try to bring tech solutions into every single business without a clear understanding of how the business operates. Like there was a small delivery service, Roman, remember we were talking about this, like a small version of DoorDash in Toronto years ago.
Courier?
Yeah,
Courier,
and
was that it?
so they were charging like 20% of the bill.
Mm-hmm.
So restaurants were like, hey, you know what? It's not the end of the world. We're not really making money, but we're building brand and we're getting our product out to other people, and maybe they'll use this to come into the restaurant one day because they really like the product, so it doesn't hurt us. Private equity company buys them and says, okay, now we have to generate profit. We're going to take the 20% and raise it to 40%. And they lost like 95% of their vendors in the first quarter.
Yeah, they shut down. They ended up shutting that service
They ended up
down.
shutting it down.
We basically can't keep a good thing going because we just got to squeeze everything, which is part of a bigger problem, a bigger conversation. I get that, but everything lasts for a little while. It's like on a bell curve. It takes off, and then it's doing well, and then they get squeezed, and then it dies, and then we just do it all over again until something works out.
So show me the company. Maybe I'm dumb. It's very possible. Show me the company where we gave everything away and lost money for 8 to 10 years, for a decade. And then we went public or we got purchased. We upped the price and everybody stayed, and we actually then turned to profitability. Like Uber's never going to be profitable. Netflix is never going to be profitable. We're talking about major companies. We're talking about the fabric of people's lives, and these companies don't make money. Because in order to get to critical mass, they've given everything away at a loss. They've been able to raise money through it. I just don't understand the end game. Like what happens when Uber actually has to make money and they actually have to charge what they have to charge in order for them to make money.
Uber's been sending me 50% off promos the last few months. And Julia and I are like, how are these guys making money? We've been eating half-price sushi for several months. I don't understand it. It's like magic to me. I use it because I know it's going to be gone one day, but I don't get it at all.
We're basically feeding, I think, like half the campus of the University of Toronto, Mississauga right now, because we have food delivery from these two companies. Every time we get a box, they put in the box that you get 6 free meals if you're like a new customer. You get 6 free boxes which are filled with meals. So we've given them to other people. We've given them to Shars, who's given them to friends who are at university, who then they order a box and then they get 6 coupons in the box and then they give them to 6 people.
It's like a meal kit?
It's a meal kit. So this company's it's called like Good Food. They're losing their ass. They're just trying to get to a certain amount of users so they can go back to Sequoia Capital and say, hey, we gained 30,000 customers last month. Yet none of them paid you anything.
Wild.
You know how expensive food is.
Do you not think that sounds like a big bubble, though? There's a lot of companies that are doing this, and that's eventually going to go away. Uber.
I completely agree.
All these, the rest of the ones you said. I mean, they're not making any money. They're just getting like Netflix, and they're just getting loads of people on board just because it's so cheap. And then they up their prices.
That's why nobody is rioting in the streets. Do you realize how comfortable we all are right now? We're at home. We're watching Wonder Woman. We're eating HelloFresh. No one's getting up.
Right.
Until this all runs out.
You want me to do
what? Nobody's fucking getting up.
Nah, we're right later.
Yeah, I got freaking Jamaican patties coming in a couple hours right now. Like I'm not going anywhere. They got to be hot when they come in.
That kind of business where they are providing unbelievable value to the customer at their own expense because of some long game that they've got in their mind.
I think it's so complicated now. I think everyone's just siphoning money off of each other. It's like parasites attached to each other.
There's a word for that.
Stealing nutrients from one another.
It's a Ponzi scheme.
No, because I think it all falls apart. But with this, I think we get injections of actual money from somewhere that come from some legit source, unless it's all being printed,
Yeah,
and then
Ponzi
we
schemes
we
get
parasite
injection
each
of
other.
actual money.
I guess, yeah, I guess. I guess there's no way to reinvent a Ponzi scheme. You could call it a parasite scheme, but it's just the
Yeah, it
same
doesn't matter
thing.
what it is. It's a Ponzi scheme. Like it's an
Sure,
MLM Ponzi scheme on a global scale. Like what's
with more
Netflix's
steps.
what's Netflix's long tail game?
It's a Ponzi scheme with code. So that's the twist.
Yes.
Ponzi, but there's code. Before it used to just be industrial or textiles or whatever. Now it's digital.
And they think, and the public thinks that because the founder can write code and the financial advisor at the bank went to Harvard, that it's not a Ponzi scheme. But it
Right.
is.
And then the engineers get laid off. When the company shuts down, they get laid off and they just go to another tech company. So then they just bounce around and like nobody notices. It's just like a musical chairs thing where every once in a while a chair disappears and someone gets taken out back and shot. But other than that, the music's playing, right?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. Hey, maybe we're dumb.
Maybe. That's I don't know. I feel dumb watching all this because I'm like, what am I missing? This
Me
feels like
too.
when I zone out in class and the teacher's on like the third chapter and I just wake up and I go, fuck, none of this is making sense. Was I not paying attention the last 10 years? That's what I feel like right now.
Everyone saw what Facebook did, and they think that they're going to be able to do it. You provide one service to get a huge user group, and then you find a way of making it profitable through some other
Well,
business, and then
everyone's
that
just so horny for platforms that they think if they just build a platform, then that's instant money. But
yeah.
nobody wants to maintain the platform because it costs money. It's like it's a whole owning a boat. Nope, everyone wants to be friends with the guy who has a boat. Nobody wants to maintain the boat. These are all just boats that are gonna rust and nobody gives a shit. And they sell the boat or it sinks. Everyone drowns and then we build a new boat. I don't get it. Maybe I was asleep the last 10 years and I just don't understand. But I feel like I've been following this for a while since the MySpace days, and I still don't get it.
Facebook turns a massive profit though.
Facebook's the anomaly.
They're the anomaly. Like like a broken
Yeah, but
clock is right twice a day. So out of 100 companies, you'll get 2 that make $1 bajillion, and then everyone thinks that that's the model.
yeah,
But I don't know. I think a lot of these companies make money, and we lump them
Sure.
all together. Like I think there's a lot of solid plays out there. I think
Yeah.
like we lump tech companies together, and it's not tech companies. It's certain industries and a certain way to build a company where you're basically creating financial arbitrage machines for the initial investors and some of the founders. Like I don't think that's true of every company. Like
Yeah, you're right.
tech's
It's
doing
because they get so much
amazing
media
things.
attention.
Right.
They get so much. It's like the celebrities that we hear always going into rehab. We think 100% of celebrities are going in
Right.
rehab, but it's just Charlie Sheen doing it for the 10th time, and that's what the DoorDashes and the WeWorks of the world are. I'm sure there's companies that are sound, right? Otherwise, we're in trouble.
Yeah,
Maybe
I know.
everyone's doing it.
I definitely think there are companies that are sound, and but I also look at like I look at Slack. Like, what did Salesforce pay for Slack?
Over
27.7.
is 27 billion. Yeah.
So now I understand that more from a Salesforce perspective of them making a purchase than I do like an IPO of DoorDash. I mean, I can say that I think Slack's overvalued at $27 billion, but Salesforce is a company and they can use their capital for whatever acquisitions they want. Like I may think it's stupid, but I don't necessarily think there's anything sort of nefarious or Ponzi scheme-ish about that. It's when they go public and they're selling shares out into the public that's a whole different. I also think too, and I could be wrong, they just get down this rabbit hole and they're down it and people are throwing money at them. What are they supposed to do? I would do the exact same thing. I just don't like if you're Netflix, you're basically on a roller coaster and it's going 300 miles an hour. And you're like, should we pull the brake or should we just keep going? And you're like, nah, fuck it, just keep going. and people are calling you up, throwing money at you. But like, how does Netflix get out of this hole?
Yeah,
Like
it's like a
they've
group trance.
yeah. Yeah, and it's just I literally picture them like on a roller coaster and like Indiana Jones that's like falling off the tracks as it goes and it's just out of control and they're like, fuck it, take more money. Like take more money on, take more money. We'll buy make more shows, make more shows. Like I don't know how Uber and Netflix ever turn a profit.